All right, today in this video, I am going to be mounting on a new tire. This is more of a roadworthy tire, but a dual purpose tire too. And it is the Shinko model number 244 called the Golden Boy. So I'm going to be mounting this this tire particularly onto my rear of my bike. And so stay tuned. I'm not going to go much into the mounting part of it, but I'm going to weigh the tires, and then I will touch base on maybe a little bit of the mounting and weigh the factory tire, the factory more motocross oriented tread pattern to this dual sport tread pattern, and we'll see what both tires weigh, because I think this one's going to be considerably heavier, and that does zap the power of a small motor. If this thing makes 4 horsepower, you know, that could zap a lot of power, but we'll see what the compromise is. So stay tuned. I'm definitely liking my gearing change. This Warp 9 rear aluminum sprocket is just a trick part, and I am liking my non-O-ring chain, which spins easier than an O-ring chain. So I'm really glad to have this combination, and I sprayed it really well with PJ1 lubricant product, not the version for the O-ring chain, but for the non-O-ring chain. So it sticks really well, and it really gummed up the look of my chain. Also will help preserve and make that chain last longer and not stretch as much, and it will also you know, make my sprocket last longer. Also too, I don't know how much I mentioned, but I do have the rear peg brace. I added that on my last video, or the video before it. That was like $20, $19.99, and it's a huge chunk of metal. It could actually be, you know, a lot lighter than what it is, but then again, that gets into more machining cost, and I didn't want to buy a brace that's $40 instead of $20. So, but as other videos state, that really reinforces and strengthens up this area, because I'm 200 pounds, and me flexing and jumping on this, you know, potentially will cause that to bend in quality of the bolts. But this is just going to help this to everything stay straight and like it was designed. And this is really a neat little piece to add that's not a lot of money. Also, I want to bring this to people's attention. Here's my Fender upgrade that I did. My bike came with the full Fender, as you can see right here, and the reason why I didn't want to have the full front fender is it looks more like a motocross bike. And my main goal with this bike is to run this on the street daily and just have fun with it, and I don't want to draw any any attention that it doesn't need to have. By, you know, putting this fender on there makes it more look like an official dirt bike. So, you know, this looks more mountain bike-ish in my opinion. So I cut this off, and so what I did, let me back my camera up. So what I did is I used my hacksaw, my trusty you know, hacksaw here, to cut in a coping saw to cut that really easily and really fast. Otherwise, you know, I was wondering how I was going to do that, but this worked really well. And so then once I'd cut that off and this was kind of ragged, I brought it over to my little grinder, you know, an inexpensive little grinder right here. It's just the Win bench grinder, and it's got 2 different ways to you know, grind things, and it just worked out really well. I used this one for my primary, and then I touched up with some things at some angles with this right here, but that allowed me to get the shape that I want right here. It could have been a little bit more pointed. You can make it a little bit more pointed or a little flatter. It's just how, or you can even take it down further than that. But that's my decision. I wanted to make this look as least dirt bike motorcycle-ish and more bicycle-ish, if you can call it that. So that was my reasoning. But then I left the rear. Now hopefully that will, that piece, instead of being down here on the forks with the brace, it's up here. So I don't know how much extra mud and water that will catch, but I definitely wanted the rear portion, 99.9% more than the front portion. Also too, just before I jump into dealing with the tire, the main point of this video, here's just something quick that you can do to help customize your Sur Ron. And this is just the little cap that goes on your head handlebar stem. And this is just a carbon fiber. I think it is actual carbon fiber, but I just ordered it online and they were like $5.99 or something like that. You can get different colors. You can get carbon fiber. You can get anodized aluminum, and you can customize and put that on there. And you don't have to loosen up your headset. You just loosen the top. Underneath this little rubber grommet right here on the factory, mine factory had this little rubber grommet. You just put your finger nail under there, pry that up, and there's an Allen bolt right there. You just remove it. You don't have to, untorque this. You don't mess with anything. You're just removing this cap, and then you want to torque it down about as close to what it was that you took the bolt out. And you can get the feel for that, so that this is not holding anything on. This is just to help torque the down to put the pressure on the headset bearings. But once you tighten, you torque the bolts here, then this plays less of less importance. But just a little cap. As you can see, mine just looks carbon fiber. Nothing nothing super special. But you can change colors. You can get writing on some of the little caps or the covers that I've seen. And when you look down, you can always see it. So just FYI, I'm going to remove my chain. It recommends when you spray your chain with chain lubes, not every one of them, because some of them will coat the outside, but the PJ1, because it is so sticky and so messy, I'm going to remove my chain, and it's going to make me easier for me to get my wheel off. These are so simple to get off, and then basically can be reused. The little retainer clip, if you don't damage it or bend it up, and you can reuse that, or you can buy some extra ones and have them on hand. But remove the chain, and this is an old motocross trick, one that I've known for my entire existence of owning chains. Kerosene is an oil-based lubricant, but it's also a chemical that it really cleans chains and degrimes them and degreases them, and it's safe for O-ring and non-O-ring. So kerosene is burnt in type of candles or something to create light, or not necessarily cooking, but for heat and for light. But you can put that into a pan or a bowl or something like this, plastic or oil change pan, and put a little bit of kerosene in there. All right, here you just want to make sure that you don't use a metal brush, a brass or a metal, because if you are using an O-ring chain, the metal bristles can damage and tear open your O-ring. So this is not a metal brush, but I got it at one of the auto parts stores, so hopefully it's auto parts solvent resistant. But then you can just use that to wash, add additional cleaning to your chain, and flip it over and clean all the sides, and then you will see how clean that makes your chain. This is an oil-based chemical, so it will lubricate your chain, but it's not a dedicated, say a PJ1 lubricant that sticks to the chain, which adds more lubrication over time, at least for a non-O-ring chain. Also, too, the latest Chain lubricants will add shock absorption. The oil and the chemicals that they have in the chain lubricant will seat themselves chemically to the metals and create less stress from the shock absorption of the chain to the teeth on your sprocket. So there's many benefits to going with a dedicated chain lube versus WD-40 or something like that. They will not help your chain to last and provide you the proper lubrication that you need. Also too, the proper PJ1 lubricant will quiet the chain down some. It's going to make your chain last longer and your sprocket last longer. So definitely invest $10 to about $16 in good quality chain lubricant. Motul, PJ1, Silcoline, Maxima chain lubricant. They're all really good. Also, just as a simple service announcement, when you mount the little retainer clip on your chain, you want to have it open facing the front of the bike and closed facing the rear. The tire spins this way, and so if for some reason your clip encounters something on the trail, it's not gonna be able to easily be forced off that direction. If you flip this around, then it could be pushed off as it spins, and then your chain will come off. All right, onto the tire. I got the tire off, and it's easy to work on when you put it on top of a bucket, but I'm not gonna go into how to unmount tires from the rims of these bikes or similar motorcycles or motocross bikes. It can be a little difficult, but it's not terrible if you know what you're doing. But so it's off there, and there's the inner tube around it. I'm going to take you over here, and we're going to weigh. Now we're going to weigh the tires real quick. The two tires which I have right here. All right, here we have the factory tire that comes on the Sur Ron, the rear, the CST, which is actually a decent tire. I don't know what people are expecting. Again, people are expecting something that the bike is not. That is like a 10 times any mountain bike tire, but that is similar to, probably a mountain bike tire. So it's an amazing tire if you were to put that on a mountain bike, but yeah, then again, you would have a little bit more difficulty pedaling that mountain bike because that's a little bit bigger tire. But it works well for what it is. I mean, if you're going to go try to race this in motocross or climb a muddy mountain, or stick on the biggest battery, the biggest motor, and the biggest controller you can find, of course you're going to tear, that tire's not going to be adequate enough. It's a skinny little like 2.6 or 2.5 tire. But anyways, so here we have the 244 Shinko right next to it, and this is a much heavier tire because it is like a 4-ply tire. So I don't fully grasp, unless you're going through a torture test with your tube, or a place that is just very dangerous for tubes. I mean, excessively dangerous with thorns. I mean, huge thorns and mesquite thorns or something. I mean, for a 4-ply tire is going to have a lot of difficulty with stickers or, normal thorns really penetrating that and getting into your tube. So adding an additional heavy duty tube over a standard tube, I mean, that may even add an additional pound for a heavy duty tube versus these standard tubes that come in this Sur Ron. They're not lightweight, rinky dinky tubes at all by any means, just like that tire. But I'm going to weigh these two, and you're going to see the difference. There is a difference, so hang on real tight while I put these on the scale. All right, so here's the factory tire hanging on my scale. It says 4.45 pounds. All right, here's the Shinko 244, and it weighs 6.55 pounds. All right, everything is done. I will never claim that changing a tire on a motorcycle wheel is easy. It's just labor intensive, but it's done now, and I'm glad. It's ready to go. So I'll follow up and what I think on this tire. It's really not much wider than the when I had the CST on there. It may be a little bit wider. This is the 2.75. It's not the 3.0 tire because that won't clear the chain. The chain will rub. So this is the smaller version. I think it's the 2.75. It's a little wider than the CST, but not by much. But we'll see how this works. Again, as I said, I'm happy with it. It's on there, and bike's running really, really well, and I'm having a lot of fun. So I appreciate everyone that's watching. Hopefully someone's getting something out of this or some enjoyment here and there. But other than that, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and have a great day. It's simple enough. Bye-bye.